Welcome to ClueCon Weekly. Join us every Wednesday to learn about the latest cutting-edge developments in the real-time communications industry. ClueCon Weekly is brought to you by FreeSwitch Solutions. Get support and professional services directly from the creators of the FreeSwitch open source project, solving your issues in the most efficient, stable, and scalable way possible. Get the FreeSwitch advantage. Visit freeswitch.com. Also brought to you by ClueCon, the premier technology conference for developers by developers. Join us every summer in Chicago. ClueCon kicks off on Monday with our annual hackathon, The Coder Games, followed by 3 days of technology-rich presentations discussing telecom, WebRTC, and IoT from developers around the world. To learn more, visit ClueCon.com or call 877-74-A-CLUE.
And welcome to ClueCon Weekly. Today is the 6th of February, 2019. And this week we're going to be joined by Greg Plum from Brandywine Technologies. For you guys that don't know Greg, he's actually one of the founding members of CompTIA's Telecom Advisory Council. He's spoken at TEDx. He's spoken for Microsoft, Apple, Warner Brothers, all kinds of other fun people. Super smart guy. And today he's going to be talking about some interesting stuff in technical staffing. So stand by for that. First, let's go over and see Miss Abby for the news. Abby, how are you doing today, ma'am?
Hi, everyone. I am doing great today. Thank you for asking. As always, welcome to ClueCon Weekly. I have some good announcements. But first, thank you to everyone who came by our booth and said hi to us at IT Expo. It was a lot of fun, and we appreciate everybody who came and visited us. Second of all, ClueCon is coming up quicker than you think. It's August 5th through 8th. And I have a couple of announcements about that. So now is actually the perfect time to sign up for ClueCon because we are actually offering the lowest price you will ever get for ClueCon ever in the history of ClueCon. So that's going to be ending February 15th, and we are offering registration for $5.99 if you're staying at the hotel. So again, that is literally the lowest price you're going to get. I pinky swear it's not a trick. You have until February 15th to get that registration price at $5.99. And when you're registering, don't forget to sign up for one of our Friday trainings. We're offering FreeSwitch training and OpenSIPs training. So if that's something you're interested in, don't forget to sign up for that. And if you're interested in speaking at ClueCon, now is also the perfect time for that. Things are lining up right in a neat row. The call for speakers is officially open. You can submit your request on our website, and that is ending April 15th. So that sounds far away, but if you round down, that's about 2 months away. So you got 2 months rounding down to fill out your speaker proposal. And of course, a special thank you to FlowRoute and SureVoIP for sponsoring ClueCon. We really appreciate it. We cannot put on this fabulous show without our sponsors. So that's all of the FreeSwitch news I have for today. Thank you guys, and back to you, Ken.
Abby. So let's go over and see Jersey Mike. Mike, who do you have for Community Corner for us this week?
Well, this week we have a question for Mike Jarris.
Great.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a long question.
All right.
It comes from the FreeSwitch users mailing list, and it's from Rick Jarvis. And the question is, Verto not segregating domains. And he says, okay, I know this must be me confusing domains / context, etc., but can't work out where I've gone wrong. Situation: Verto using XML curl from the database server for directory. Verto users are user at with multiple domains to segregate conferences. The XML being shown is below. I thought that simply having the domain name equals whatever would keep things separate if the domains were different, but it seems this isn't the case. And then he has his XML. Output from Verto status here shows users correctly on different domains, but maybe the prefix is what's affecting it here, or is it some other setting? So Mike, what's the correct way to set this all up?
All right, so you skipped over the XML, but what I had seen in the XML earlier was he's trying to call conferences. So what I'm getting out of this is there's an expectation that the conferences will be different sets for each domain. So yes, it's a confusion of domain versus context in that Verdo totally understands the domains fine, but you're calling all into the same context. And you need, if you're trying to isolate conferences by domain, you need dial plan that will do that. And the way that you would do that is either putting it into different contexts in the dial plan, or even easier, just putting some domain specific variable as part of the conference name to isolate the conferences from each other by domain. I think the way that I would do it is I would set a domain level variable for each var with the actual domain name in it. And then in dial plan, use that as part of the conference name. The reason I would do that, as opposed to Verdo sets some variables that have the domain in it that you could probably use directly. But I would use a variable you set explicitly in the directory in case you have weird situations like two domains that scope-wise should be into the same pool of conferences. And that would let you handle that without having to rewrite all of your things. It's pretty easy. So I did see a response earlier about context. I don't think it's really a context thing. If you really want the flow of dial plan to be the same for all domains, but the conferences to be in a different scope, I would make the conference name include a variable that is domain specific using a domain level from the directory channel variable.
So essentially, he's going to have to change two different components. He's going to have to change some of the XML from that's generated on the directory, and then he's going to have to modify his dial plan as well.
Yep, those two. Specifically in the dial plan where you create the conference name, just kind of prepend or append that other variable underscore, do like conference number underscore that other variable name, something like that to unique them by domain. It's all under your control. If you really want to do separate context per domain, there's a force context variable, which off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but there is a variable to force the context that you can put into the directory as well, either on a per user or a per domain basis. So you can isolate that way as well.
So this guy did pretty well. He got like 90% the way there.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mike. Answers from the experts.
Yep, no problem.
Back to you, Ken.
All right. Let's see here. Let's just, I think, Abby has a blog spot for us this week. So let's go over and see what do you got for us, Abby? I know you always find some interesting stuff for us.
Hi guys, I am back. So this week for a blog spot, I decided to just share some industry news with you guys that I found in some of my research. So just a little bit of VoIP news to keep everybody updated. And this one is all about the trends in contact centers. So it's a new year. In 2019, brand interaction is turning out to be more important to customers than it ever has been in the past, which carries over into the fundamentals of contact centers. So already we are seeing AI being integrated into automatic voice and text engagement, and it's actually predicted that IVR is going to be elevated in its ability to interact with humans. We see that a little bit already with dialogue flow and some other things you can integrate with SignalWire. And in the same vein, in other news, we should also be seeing more sophisticated chatbots that are used to interact with customers. So as AI advances, this technology is actually going to rely on a bank of data in order to predict answers rather than just a tree of if-then statements. So I talked about this a little bit in some other Free Switch blogs I wrote about the true meaning of AI versus what sellers want you to think that AI is. So in 2019, hopefully in customer interaction, we're actually going to be seeing real AI, which I think is really, really exciting. So that's all the news I have for you today. I'll find some more VoIP news to share next week, and have a good rest of your show. I'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Abby. We're going to jump over now. We've got Mr. Greg Plum and Mike going to bring it to us. Greg, Mike, how you guys doing today?
Good, Ken. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great.
Right? So Greg, tell us about some of the challenges you have with
Sure. So this is actually, it's pretty interesting. You, Abby just mentioned thanking everybody for coming out to Florida to the expo last week. And we were there as well. And when I first started doing this, first started looking at doing this show with you all, I was going to talk about something different. But based on everything that happened at the show, I thought the interest was so high, it made sense to bring this to the audience. I thought there might be some, it's pretty pertinent material. So right now, the stat that you'll hear thrown around is in cybersecurity. IT as a whole. So my company is Brandywine Technology, and we're a technical staffing company. So you'll see in a little bit why I'm so excited about this topic and why it's so timely. You know, when somebody says there's a 0 unemployment rate right now in anything, sounds like good news. Problem is, it's not, because that really, as far as cybersecurity goes, it becomes a real threat to companies looking to deliver their services in trying to find adequate talent. So right now,
that's really the key, though, is finding qualified personnel.
Absolutely. And you know, Abby touched on AI, and AI will not solve all of your problems. And you'll hear, if you go listen to Pandora or wherever, there's all these different services that are out there to help people with their job search. It doesn't solve the problem. It's a tool that can be used, but it's not going to solve the problem. It's a critical stage right now.
So
I'll talk a little bit about. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No, absolutely. You first.
Sure. So where we are right now, I love this quote. John McAfee, everybody knows the name McAfee from the antivirus. There are 2 jobs for every qualified candidate. So it's great for a candidate. It's not great news for the employers. I mean, right now, good news is in our space, in the cybersecurity space, demand is way up. It's a shame that it has to be up, but because of hackers and data breaches, the need for cybersecurity talent is through the roof. It's unprecedented, and because of that, these companies that provide the services, they're at a premium. They're definitely in demand. The downside is they need to now find the talent to be able to deliver the services. So it's that it's that supply and demand. Right now, the demand for their services is so high, which is great. The downside is finding the right talent to deliver the services. They're struggling. It's a challenge right now. 300,000. So I try to go conservative. You know the stat, right? 77% of all stats are made up. So I'm going to go as conservative as I can here, right? Right now in the U.S. alone, there is a shortage of 300,000 positions. There are 300,000 unfilled cybersecurity positions.
Oh, I believe it.
But it's going to get worse. Okay, over the next 2 years, that's expected to rise to 500,000. And that's just here in the U.S. Globally, I've heard stats as high as 3.5 million openings, unfilled openings globally. And the U.S. isn't even the largest exporter of cyber talent. It's actually Israel is one of the top. I think is the number one. So it's scary. I mean, it's scary. The prospects here. It's great for those that have the skills. It's really a challenge for those that are looking to get this talent and deploy it into the space. It's a challenge.
So where does one find qualified candidates? I mean, cybersecurity isn't something that universities really teach that much.
I'm so glad you said that. I mean, not even so. Okay, these students, what they're really studying in school, believe it or not, is cybersecurity is becoming a concentration. The major typically is computer science or computer engineering, mostly computer science. And interestingly, my son right now we're getting ready to tee him up to send him off to college next year, and fortunately, that's what he's interested in. So thank goodness the gods are smiling on us there. it's in demand. The problem is this. Even the universities can't keep pace, right? They have these programs, but they can't get enough qualified faculty to actually deliver the courses. It's gotten to a point now where they actually have lotteries for classes in computer science for the kids to be able to actually sign up for the class. So you could see this has a trickle-down effect, and it's brutal. So everyone is being impacted all the way down to the university level. So even down, believe it or not, we take it down another step, and we could talk about this a little bit later. There are programs to start identifying people to try to really tickle that fancy, right? To see if they have an inkling for IT and cybersecurity down to the middle school age. Right now, that we work with a group called Tech Girls, middle school age girls, to see if they have any interest in IT and coding, which is pretty cool. So we're starting early.
Yeah, so just yesterday, my daughter was playing with this. I bought her this coding wand, right? And you get there and you it's a little wand and you're in front of an iPad and the feather goes up and down and you click on a tab and it's got all the jQuery. And I'm thinking, oh my God, she's 6 years old. This is way too complicated for her. And then so I look at the box. And the box says 6+. And I was saying this to a friend last night. I was like, what type of 6-year-old knows JavaScript? And he looks at me and he goes, a lot of them, they're teaching it early. And so I'm like, next time I'm sitting down with her, I'm going to go every line of code and explain to her what it does.
Well, it's like a foreign language. Kids are much more adept at that. Their brains are way wired significantly better to be able to take it in. Give it to me and forget it. It's just not my strength. But the kids, that's when you hit them. That's when you find out when there's the propensity. It's not going to be for everyone. Don't get me wrong. But now we're starting to identify the fact that there's true shortage. So what can we do to really educate the masses on what the possibilities are and find out those that really have a passion for it? It's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's just we're in for a little bit of a rough road between now and getting to Nirvana, where we're able to have a decent pool of candidates.
So how do you think open source affects cybersecurity?
Oh, boy, that's a kind of a loaded question, since we're talking about FreeSwitch, or we're on this FreeSwitch platform. Open source always brings to two things, right? It brings freedom. It also brings risk, because there's a whole different platform that who knows where it goes. It reminds me of, do you remember back when Twitter first got started, and it was on that hockey stick growth? You asked the founders and they're like, well, where's this going? And their response was, we have no idea. We're not even setting the path for the tool. The users are. So it's the same, to me, it's the same thing. So that freedom and that opportunity really does result in risk and the need for, compliance and governance. So
yeah,
who knows?
So the thing is, with open source, right there, you can kind of you have access to the code, and you can identify vectors, whereas in closed source projects, it's not so readily easy to achieve and find out what's there, right?
Well, it's an open kimono with open source. That's the beautiful thing about it, right? So there's completely new and unforeseen opportunities. You know this. The jobs that exist today didn't even exist 5 years ago, and that's largely fed by the technologies and what's coming down the pike. So it's scary. It's cool. It's a fun time to be in this space. But it's not going to be without its challenges.
So what do you think's coming down the pike?
Yeah, well, so I'd say right now what we need to do, we need to make sure we focus on getting as many qualified candidates, people that can handle the challenge the technology can, cybersecurity specifically, as far as handling risk, keeping that, mitigating risk, because it comes at all levels. It comes at the small levels, but starting to happen, it was at the enterprise. Everyone was trying to hack into the enterprise, right? That's who was spending their time and resources and money and energy on protecting their data. Thank goodness that they did that. However, you see that as not without fail. And when it does fail, everyone knows about it. But what's starting to happen is that's actually moving downstream. It's moving down market. Now there's a whole, and the whole audience was there in Florida, an MSP, a managed service provider. So that is potentially a partner, a type of partner that FreeSwitch would work with. They are feet on the street. They're working with customers to handle their business challenges, whatever, and one of which may be a communications challenge. The key is these guys are the ones that have the ability to deliver whatever solution is available. Now those smaller businesses are threatened because it's moving downstream. We need to make sure that they are duly armed and equipped with the right talent. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can build, buy, partner. Those are the three models, typically those stacks. You can build your own solution. You can go buy something off the shelf and then deploy it. Like, for example, like Datto, for example, is a service that could be deployed for security. And then where you can partner. There are, in our session, which was really intriguing to me, I learned more than I anticipated sitting in on my own panel discussion. There are such a thing as called an MSSP, which is a managed security services provider. So what these guys are doing, they're specific to, an MSP will deliver whatever. It could be Office 365, it could be collaboration, it could be the VoIP, but whatever that the customer needs, they bundle it, package it, supply it, and support it. Now there's an MSSP, which specifically focuses on the security side. So that MSP can go out there, if they know their customer has a need, they can build it themselves, hire for it, which is kind of where we're seeing where there's an issue right now, getting the right talent, or you partner. You find somebody else that does that for the specialist in the security, partner with them, you have a rev share model, everybody wins. Make sense?
It sounds like a pretty good business model, that's for sure.
Well, right now, an MSSP, they are absolutely sitting pretty. However, they have the same challenges. The talent, where are they getting the talent? And then the talent becomes one of those things where they know they're becoming more valuable. And you know what happens, right? When you get, the whole prima donna, when an actor becomes A-list, they want special things in their green room, and they want premiums, and everything. So same type of thing starts to happen here, and it is a challenge just keeping your talent. Once you get them, keeping them, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit about next. Is the different challenges. I view it in three different components. It's first finding the right talent, and that's something that we do. My company will help. Somebody will say, "Hey, I need an Azure architect, or I need a database manager, or I need somebody who's well versed in SAP or Oracle, whatever." So we're a specialist in that arena because that's what we spend 100% of our time doing. This is one cog, one thing that's in their world. So they oftentimes struggle for that. But let's say you get the person. Now what do you do? Well, you have to motivate them. Number one, you want to get the right person, get the right person on the bus. Then if they're the right person, it's going to be easy to motivate them, but you need to continually pay attention to your resource. If you don't, it won't be there for very long. So some of those challenges are, go ahead. Do you have any thoughts on that? Any questions for me?
Well, it's really interesting because I guess here you have the ability to get someone that's uniquely qualified to specialize in each subspecialty, right? And to bring all that in-house, it would be so cost prohibitive, even for large organizations.
It is, and that's where the partnering component comes into play. The thing is this: if you have a lot of these shops they deploy generalists, because it's getting the person that has the right mindset, the right work ethics. Those soft skills are still just as important. It's not just hiring the skill set. It's not saying, okay, checking off right down the list. What do you have? What feathers do you have in your cap? But what type of environment do you work well in? Because one person that thrives in one environment does not necessarily mean they're going to make that jump and do just as well with a different company. So that's a huge sticking point, and that's why it's such a challenge to hire. And if you make a bad hire, Forbes says it costs 30% of that person's salary. If you make a bad hire and you have to go back and do it all over again, 30%. Now, do the math. If that's a $100,000 employee, which in this space is a no-brainer, $93,000 is the average cybersecurity professional engineer today. 93,000. So that's a $30,000 mistake you've just made.
But it's not only that. It's about bringing someone on board, training them, and then finding out that the mistake was made in hindsight. And so it's everyone's investment in time. It's not just the new hire. It's the people training them. It's all those things. It's giving people access, and they have proprietary knowledge of how these networks are architected and all that stuff. And they a lot of people keep that very close to the vest. That's for sure.
Absolutely. You don't want to be handing the keys of the castle to just anybody off the street. That is for sure. And the other thing, think what it does to morale. You bring somebody in, everyone's pumped, right? Here's new blood, and everybody's excited. 90 days out, that person's gone. It's going to have a detrimental impact on your morale. So it's definitely something you want when hiring. It can't be. I don't know if have you ever heard the commercial for, I believe I forget. It's one of the online aggregators for resumes. So you go ahead and post a job and you get all these resumes in, you'll get dozens or hundreds of resumes in. Why that's a good thing, that's beyond me. But what they'll say in the line is, hiring was the worst part of my job. Something intrinsically wrong with that. Hiring is the lifeblood of your job and your company. So I'll get off that pulpit though.
Yeah, but that was probably not said by an HR manager.
No, it definitely wasn't said by an HR manager. No, you're exactly right. You just have to be careful before you roll out that welcome wagon. You want to make sure you're hiring for the right reasons. You're hiring for fit, and think about it. If it's sparse pickings, you almost become desperate. It's like, who do I have? Who can I force fit? You don't want to take that square peg and put it into a round hole. Ultimately, it just will not work.
So what are the new vectors that people are using to try to gain access to networks or services and that type of stuff? What do you see that's like the new upcoming attacks from the cyber community?
So, the old tried and true tools, if you're asking me like what types of tools, like if I'm looking to find somebody, how do I go about doing it?
Yeah.
That's the question? Yeah. So, you always go back to the well. You go to your network and you find, you use LinkedIn. I mean, I did the same thing when I was going down to Florida for the show. I went to LinkedIn and I popped in. I was like, okay, who do I know in Florida? Who are my first line connections? So that's the first thing people do. You reach out to your existing, the people that you already have, assuming you've brought the right people on, then chances are they're going to know people that they feel would be a good fit. They're not going to bring in somebody that's going to be disruptive to the culture. They're going to bring in somebody that's going to be aligned and, hopefully advance the mission. Then there are the other tools. There are the tools like the Indeeds and the ZipRecruiters where you can go out and you can post it, or Career Builder. You will get resumes. The question is, how many do you get, and how many of them really are qualified? So that to me is just, I'll give you an example. We work with a local, we're very friendly with a local technology company. They're super successful. They've done very well for themselves. It's an MSP, and they serve really the nation, the countrywide. And he said, yeah, we did put out our this job. We filled it. We put it out on, I think it was Indeed. So I was just curious because, let's call a spade. I compete against Indeed. It's very different. Indeed's more of a carpet bomb where I'm that laser where I go and we find that one person. So I just was curious about the experience. And he said, that was great. We put it out there and we got about 200 resumes. And I was like, whoa, what? That's great. To me, that's overwhelming. How do you cull through that? So, but that's what it was. It was 200 resumes. From there, they went through, and I guess they were just looking at keywords or whatever criteria they had, and they started scratching. So they culled that down to 60. From 60, they got it back down to about 20, who I think they spoke with on the phone. From the 20 they spoke with on the phone, they invited in a half dozen, and from there they did ultimately hire somebody from it. So they succeeded for sure. But to me, what did that cost? What was the hard dollars along with the
It's
soft
an
dollars with
enormous
that?
investment in time.
I know. So that's plus the exercise and frustration thing is that is not what they do for a living. Ask any technology company what they're good at. They're good at technology. They're great at the nuts and bolts. What are they not so good at? They're not good at sales. And this isn't my words. This is their words. I hear this time and again. They're not good at sales. They're not good at marketing, and they're not good at hiring. So why not pull in the specialist for those three pieces that's really not in their wheelhouse?
Well, in the end, a lot of these technology companies, they were all founded by engineers, right?
Absolutely. So they're going to be terrible at selling, right?
Yep.
That is the crux of it right there. Exactly right. So this is interesting. So ultimately, you need to hire. You need to motivate people. You need to find out, well, what is it that they want, right? So the key, I always say, this is something you say in marketing. Know your audience. Your audience. In this case, if you're an employer, your audience is your employee or your prospective employee. These are some stats that just came out. Dice is another one of those tools that recruiters use specifically in the technology space. They did a survey of 10,000. So this is not just a sliver. 10,000 IT professionals, and they came back with what are the things that they want in their job. 71% want training. They want additional training, formalized training. Now that comes in our space, that comes in the form of certs, different types of certifications they get. They could be CompTIA certs. They could be, the granddaddy's a CISSP cert where they're getting that's the person who could ultimately be your CISO, your chief in charge of information security. So that's pretty interesting. And interestingly, 40% of the companies surveyed were providing training. We're going to talk about that. That's almost a double-edged sword. We'll talk about that in a second. You know what happens when you train somebody, right? They get more knowledge. They become a little bit more valuable. So that's
a good thing, though.
That it is. It's a beautiful thing, provided you as an employer are prepared to deal with that, and you need to be. You absolutely need to be. Otherwise, that resource you just invested in is going to be out the door. Remember, 0% unemployment rate. They're going to go somewhere. If somebody's going to pay them what they're worth, they'll leave. The other one, 73%, this is not going to come as a shock, value remote working ability, the flexibility and the ability to work from wherever. 49%.
You got to make sure they're not sitting in the Home Depot and answering
Absolutely.
their cell phones.
Yeah, you're right. Well, nowadays it's very simple to know whether there's KPIs in there. You're right. This is technology. It's very simple to see whether or not they're doing their job. So it's hard to skate by without doing what you need to do. Everybody knows that, and they want it. They want that flexibility. Beautiful thing is almost half of the companies offer that, either part-time, they work part-time remotely or whatever. They know it's a demand, and they're meeting it. So that's actually a good thing. Here's the one that's scary. Oh, by the way, actually 33% of the people surveyed were willing to take a 10% pay cut to have remote work ability. So if they don't have it and they're saying, you know what, I'll cut me by 10%, and I'm good with that, to be able to work from home or work from wherever. That's pretty telling. Beautiful thing is with that really doesn't cost the company anything. It's not, you're not having to throw more dollars at your resources. It's just giving them what they want, and that is flexibility. The one that's scary, specifically in this space, is burnout. There's a high burnout rate. I mean, you can imagine in IT, the stress is just through the roof. I used to think IT, I remember when I first heard the term, it was about 2000-ish or so. And I know I'm late to the game, but I thought, IT, what a fluffy thing is that? I mean, how is that business impacting? Lo and behold, it's the crux of everything that goes on in business today.
Well, in IT, you do it.
That's it. That's right. I mean, so look, 81% are saying that they're burnt, they're fried, they're crispy. They need a break, or they need something. That something, interestingly, according to this survey, can really just come in the form. It doesn't have to be anything. There's not rocket science here. It's in the form of recognition, in the form of team building, in the form of really building that culture and giving them recognition and feeling like they're a part of something bigger. 2% of the companies, according to this survey, only 2% did a good job at that. There's a huge opportunity. Again, doesn't cost any money. There's a huge opportunity to retain your talent once you have it, once you've got the right talent. Now, we alluded to this already. You know, what happens when you train up your talent? They want to be trained. If you don't give them the training, they're going to leave. They won't be happy. What happens when you do? They become more valuable. When they become more valuable, what do? You have to pay them. They're worth it. Their marketability has just increased, and their value to your organization has increased. Why would you not pay them for that? That's something that has to be done. There is a misconception out there, and I see it with clients today. I had somebody come to me and said, okay, we want a software engineer, and we want to pay, I think it was 60 or 65,000. That's and just like, that's not what the market is right now. You know, you really need to be like 85, somewhere in that range. And the response was, my current staff that pays this amount can do that job. Okay, well, what's wrong with that picture? That tells me you're not paying your current staff what they're worth. So it's just a broken model. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, the other thing
it's very forward thinking.
Well, the thing is this, you have to be. These guys are a precious commodity. They are a precious commodity. You need to protect them. Otherwise, you just won't have them for very long. Now, so how do you, attrition, you know, someone's not happy. How do you protect that investment? So I again turn back to that survey because it's such a powerful, so it's so current and it's exactly our market. Why do people leave? Right. So let's say you think you're doing everything right, and then you still have people walk out the door. Why is that happening? 68% of them. Why do you think that would be? Any idea, Mike?
Not happy.
A little more specific. If I'm leaving my job, I'm seeing my job, and I leave, I walk out the door. Why do you think that? What do you think that primary motivator would be? This one's not a trick question.
I don't know. You tell me.
It's money. It's money, right? 68% of them leave for more money. Believe it or not, when they leave, they make that jump, 15 to 20% pay increase. Why would you not leave? So you can see there's another opportunity to keep them by paying them what they're worth. The other 47%, why they leave? Lack of flexibility. If they want to work remotely and their customer doesn't want them, I'm sorry, their employer, it's not in their culture, they're leaving. That's,
yeah,
again,
but at the same time, you can, by looking at resumes, you can see ahead of time, you know, the people that, you know, are the hoppers.
Job hoppers?
You know, yeah. They're there for a year and a half at most, and over that period, it's just one right after another.
But you know that stigma is going, you're right. I totally agree with you. That stigma is disappearing. It is waning because people know if they're good, they're going to get opportunities. Here's one for you. This all bets are off. Netflix willing to pay a 300% increase for people. I mean, who's not going to leave for that? So poaching is very real. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do in that case. But you want to try to give people what they're looking for. Yeah, there are job hoppers out there, and they're just never going to be happy, and the grass is always greener. That's going to happen. But what we're finding when we're looking through resumes right now, that we do every single day, we try to find a viable resource. No longer are we scared if we see somebody that was there for a year and a half, next job before that 2 years. We're no longer afraid of that. We used to be. No longer is that the case, because that is how dynamic this market is. It's crazy. It's a little scary to be an employer in this at this point. And the other 34%, they leave. This one surprised me, for more responsibility. So they wanted to get meatier projects. So that's the other thing. So get the right resource, train them up, move them up internally. That is a recipe for success in an IT shop, in a cybersecurity shop. This is interesting. Have you ever heard the term quit rate?
No, that's a new one.
It was a new one on me too. it's basically voluntary attrition, leaving a company. Right now, it's only been tracked since 2000. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the quit rate in 2018, December of 2018, was the highest it's ever been since it's been tracked at 2.3%. So it's saying these people have a job, gainfully employed, and they're saying adios, right? It's crazy.
I thought you said quick, not quit.
I'm sorry, quit rate. So it's the attrition where they're leaving on their own. So, I mean, it's painful, right? Employers have their work cut out for them.
Well, a lot of times in telecom, and especially in the free switch community and the other open source communities, I mean, the community is so small, it's very hard to find qualified personnel that have knowledge of these open source projects that can actually build infrastructure and implement them properly and effectively and efficiently.
Yeah, the beautiful thing is, though, today with technology today, like what we're on right now, will allow you to work remotely. You can have a remote team. We're all sitting in different rooms for this event to pull this event off, and you wouldn't know. That's the beauty of it. So the tools are available. It's just how they're leveraged. So it does force people to consider, okay, I'm going to go outside of this region. Now, that's the other thing. We didn't even talk about that. One thing to consider when you're looking at resources, let's say we have a client in DC. Now, you can imagine what the labor, what the pay rates in DC are like. And now with Amazon going in DC, having a facility there, it's going to totally change that employment market. All of a sudden, these people are going to be way more scarce. They're going to be way more paid, probably more than what they're worth initially. The pendulum's going to swing the other way. It's scary. So one of the opportunities, if you're a business owner in that market, you can always now look outside. You can go to a bedroom community or go outside to find talent that doesn't necessarily, since they don't necessarily have to come into the office, you can get cheaper labor. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of Amazon. Who wants to be there? So some strategies.
We talked about in a global community. I mean, let's say you can actually, based on time zones, staff based on time zones to have a larger coverage.
Absolutely. The beauty is you're no longer tied to, there are no limitations whatsoever when you're creating your workforce. There's no reason they all have to be in the same room. You don't have to have people working around the clock in one time zone. You can put them overseas, and you can have customer support. You have work getting done. You have development getting done while you're sleeping here. So there's no reason not to leverage that. And you can imagine oftentimes the labor in those other areas, it's just a little bit cheaper than we have over here. So definitely.
But it's increased a lot. It's actually, there used to be a very big deviation. Now what's happening is lot of, it's closing, but not only that, it's closing because sometimes there's a higher level of sophistication too. So like you have countries that have focused on math and computer science generationally, and the younger generations coming out of those countries, the kids are like all geniuses.
You're right. And you actually see that here, right? You see it in a lot of the schools here where you have different pockets of the schools, and they're pumping out some just amazing. The talent that's coming even out of high school today is just, it's amazing. And they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from all over the world to go to school here. Even high school. I've have personal experience with that. And then college, all bets are off. They're definitely pulling from all over the globe to get.
And my daughter's in second grade, and she came home from school like maybe 2 months ago, and she said, "Daddy, I made a web page." And then I was like, "Oh, time to take a trip to the Apple Store."
That is awesome. Well, I tell you what we'll have to do. We'll have to get her, as she gets into middle school age, you'll have to reach back out to me. Tech Girls, have her look at that, because it's a national program. It's specifically for people that have that talent. That's awesome. That's very cool. How cool is that? So this kid, the teachers in the elementary level see the need for it, and they see that there's an appetite for it. So why not feed that? That's That's awesome. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So we talked about the doom and gloom. All right, it's tough. There's no doubt it's tough. I mean, I love it. It's exciting because specialists are needed to help cure these ailments, to get this talent in place. But let's
But
talk
not
about some
only that,
strategies.
it also speeds up development too, because if you can address issues and get the actual experts in there, I mean, you're increasing time frames, you're solving issues quicker.
Absolutely. You're exactly right. And then there's also, so there's the hard savings, right? There's increased productivity, and then there's the soft savings of time. Time costs money. So if you can deploy your solution, whatever that solution is, quicker, clearly everyone's going to win. And that's really always when I'm speaking with somebody that, for us, look, our service isn't free. No tech company's services are free, but you're able to tell the value of the service. We're going to handle all of this for you. So there's value in that. There's peace of mind. There's security in that. My argument to our customers is the exact same thing. Let us do just what we do. We only do this much right, but we do it really, really well. So let us do that for you. You go do the rest of your business. It's just that specialist mentality, and everybody wins. So let's. I don't want to leave this on like a woe is me, or oh my gosh, what is an employer to do? Talk about just a few strategies here that they can deploy to really navigate this, because it's a interesting time. First off, and I said it before, it's the same rule in marketing: know your audience, know what your people are all about, what's going to jazz them, what's going to get them excited. And if it's something that, if it's I'm going to use the word, if it's a millennial group, and oftentimes it is, oftentimes motivated more by experience, belonging, contributing to a greater good, finding out where they belong in that organization, how they're contributing, more so than, oh, here's a kicker, here's a grand, go play. I mean, money always talks, there's no doubt, but just know your audience and know what's going to really motivate them. Then educate. We looked at the stat here. 71% want to be educated. They want to be trained up in their field to make themselves their personal stock price go up. Educate them, and then know that they're going to be more valuable. And to retain them, promote them from within. They already, right? That's a known entity. Why would you not do that? Give them what they're worth. Don't hold on to them for as long as they're willing to stay. Give them what they're worth. And then constantly, continuously motivate. Remember, 2% of those companies out there address the fact that there was an 81% burnout. That's horrible. That is a horrible disparity. Pay attention to what's going on. Know that there's a high burnout, and you can't change that. It's part of the whole equation, but address it and come up with unique, creative ways to build team, have team building exercises.
Everyone goes on a cruise.
Cool. I like that, and I think, I'll just give you my email address because I think that's a good idea. The one line, I mean, it's kind of it's a little bit of a doom and gloom, a little bit, or it's really a word of warning. If you don't pay your people what they're worth, somebody's going to. There's a ton of competition out there, so give them what they're worth.
All right, so tell me about some of your success stories. Let's hear about that.
Wow. So I love these. I mean, we've got some that start, believe it or not, when we're talking technical staffing, right? So it could be, we've got some that are very, very senior level. They need somebody to come in and totally overhaul the infrastructure. But some of to me, the really successful ones are, this is as recent as I can get. 2 weeks ago, I had somebody come to me. It's a technical staffing, a tech firm, an IT firm. They provide help desk service and network monitoring. Your typical IT services company, small shop, about 20 employees. And one of the owners came to me. He said, "Kit, can you help me? We cannot find a person. We can't find a body to fit this role." So you go through the the discovery process. If I'm doing my job right, I need to know exactly what their environment's like. I need to go out to their environment, see it, feel it, touch it, know what the other employees that are doing well, what they look like, what they act like, just the feel of what it looks like on a day-to-day basis. Then what we do is we go and we hand it to the recruiting machine. The recruiting machine finds people that have the raw skills, at least on paper, and then you go through the painstaking process of vetting them and then meeting with them ahead of time. It might be face-to-face, it might be a Skype or whatever, but getting to see these people first. So now you know what your customer needs. You know what this person has the capability of delivering, at least from your initial screening. Based on that, this customer that struggled for months, it was months, to find a body, we found them in a week and a half, and that person starts next week. So it's a beautiful thing, and it's just because it's not that we are good, but we're focused. It's more about being focused on this. It's one part of their job, and it's almost an annoyance. It's like a detractor from their job. It's like they're handling their customers. We got to go get this help desk person. We need them in there. And it's having a detrimental effect on everybody that's in the shop because they're all being stretched a little bit more thin. And then they're one resignation away from just really bursting. So being able to do that, that's pretty rewarding. So that's kind of fun. So and not only that candidate that we were able to find, we've changed their life too. So it's really pretty cool space to be in.
Sounds interesting. So we're coming around the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Do you have anything more to say?
No, I think I've kind of milked it as best I can here. It just comes down to
how about one more word of wisdom? New industry terms, something.
You know what? I just want to go back to the line that I just had in the prior slide. Pay your people what they're worth. Get the right people on the bus. Right? Hire for that. Don't hire for skill. Just skill. Because
that's the key to a company's success is just having everyone on board and having the same clear and correct vision.
It's about alignment, right? As soon as you have somebody going rogue, it's going to disrupt things. And once you have that, take care of them, because if you don't, someone else will.
All right. Well, thank you, Greg. We appreciate you coming in today, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, I love it. So here's all my contact info, and you can see if I'd love to speak with anybody who wants to chat about this stuff. Even if you just want to, you just want to geek out on staffing or cyber or whatever. It's just kind of fun. So I know you can't click on the link, I don't think, from wherever you are. So I just clicked on it. If you find that page on LinkedIn, you found me, and I would love to connect with people.
Well, it'll certainly be in the YouTube comments. So
excellent.
It'll be there.
Good stuff.
Thank you for coming in. Back to you, Ken.
Thanks.
All right, Greg, Michael, thank you guys very much today. Next week, guys, we're going to have Dan Christian Bogus, CG Rates, will be joining us. So he's always got some really cool stuff to show off there. So you don't want to miss that. That will be on the 13th of February, right at noon Central Time. That's GMT -6 for all you guys that aren't in the Central Time Zone. Don't forget, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and click the subscribe button below these videos on YouTube so you can get the updates as they happen. And we'll see you guys next week.
You've been watching ClueCon Weekly. Tune in every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central. Keep up with the latest happenings by subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or visit us at freeswitch.com.